All right, everybody, thank you all so much for joining us today. We have a great show that's going to be coming with a lot of information. So I hope you all stay tuned until the end. I am joined by my co-host. Well, Donna isn't here yet, but she'll be on, of course. Derek, Tanya, and also Levon. And we are so excited to have you all aboard because we're
Did we lose?
Okay, so
Did we lose Sherman?
he's frozen. Sherman is having some technical difficulties from his location, but he just flashed our disclaimer that says that we are not legal experts. And so if you have questions about anything, please seek information independent of us. This is information that we have gathered through our efforts and our experiences. And so what we share on CAG Chat is our opinion and facts. And we bring the two together to create action for change. All right, so thanks so much. I am Levon Reedy Thomas, one of the proud co-hosts of CAG Chat, and I'm going to get started with open mic. And open mic is our chance to kind of throw around some topics that are blazing through Prince George's County, the DMV, or even the state. Number one is we have recently this week, we got the notification or the announcement that our Prince George's Fire Department would be led by none other than Demetria Mimi Michaelidis, who was a career firefighter here in the county until she retired a few years back. And she is now going to be our chief. And just a little bit of information about Mimi, who I came to know as my classmate in Leadership Prince George's. She started in the fire and EMS department in 1987 as a dispatcher. And then she had held several roles in the department. And she became the first woman and first African-American woman certified as a bomb technician in the state of Maryland. And so she is truly thebomb.com. On a serious note, we got news, or everybody saw on the news, that Mimi had some kind of health incident today, and she was rushed to the hospital. Have not seen any updates on the news. I did do a search before we started. And so we are praying for Mimi that all will be well, or I should say Chief Mimi, that all is going to be well with her. And maybe it's just a bout of dehydration and exhaustion from putting all of her energy into this appointment this week. I'm sure she's been working around the clock. So prayers up for Chief Mimi. The second thing that I'm going to talk about on open mic is the watercraft ban. I know a lot of people get annoyed seeing boats sitting on the side of the road, sitting in their neighborhoods, parked and wrapped all year long, and maybe the boat gets taken out when the summer months or the spring months come around. But we have a new parking ban. It says watercrafts can no longer be parked on public streets, roads, highways, or rights-of-ways in accordance with County Council Bill CB 002 2025. It's aimed at improving public safety, neighborhood aesthetics, and reducing improperly stored or abandoned watercraft. And we have all been on the road and seen where somebody left their boat, and it's just unnecessary. The first violation is a warning and 72-hour removal notice with non-compliance, resulting in a $250 fine. And then your second violation would be a $500 fine. Now, my opinion is, if I give you the first fine and you don't comply, I'm going to tow, and then I'm going to give you a bigger fine than $250. Like, I
Right.
just feel like if the county has to eat the cost of towing and disposing of your boat, if it's not in condition to be sold, then I think the fine should be even greater than that. But what you can do, if you have a neighbor who is violating this new rule, which I thought it was an old rule, but maybe they just enhanced it. You can, of course, report the violation at 311, or you can go online to pgc311.com. And of course, there's a mobile app that you can use for 311 as well. So get your boats off the road. That's the message. And my last open mic topic is that the FBI is announced to be relocated to the Reagan building on Pennsylvania Avenue, instead of coming to the proposed or the approved site of Greenbelt here in Prince George's County. I worked in the Reagan building. I know someone who works in the Reagan building now. And if you're familiar with the Reagan building, I can't even conceive how that'll work.
Me either.
They have tenants. There's a food court that used to be amazing. Somebody put in the comments, are they going to have the food court? I mean, I don't understand. There are a lot of cultural activities that happen there. They do summer entertainment in the courtyard. I just don't see, it's a pass-through facility.
Right.
I just don't understand how that's going to work. It doesn't even seem feasible. So we're going to keep our eyes on that as well.
And the activity across from the park.
Yeah. Yeah. It just doesn't make any sense. Anything just to keep it from coming to good old Democratic-led Maryland. You know, it's a fight at every turn. And so we're going to ask Delegate Jamila Woods to come on camera. I saw her peep in for a moment, and we'll begin to have our conversation. Hey, Delegate.
How's everybody?
We are good.
Good to have you.
Looking so fabulous. Loving it. Loving it. And so Delegate Jamila Woods, who I've known for 20 years now, I think, is a newer delegate in the House at the state level. Why am I stumbling? But a little bit about her. She is a Howard University graduate. She is a mom. She is an amazing vocalist. She is a pastor, woman of God. She is an advocate. And you know what, Jamila, I know I didn't say this, but as I was prepping, I thought about it. I know you have a new focus, both personally and policy-wise. And if you want to mention that at the end, after we talk about the toll lanes, please be sure to share that with everyone. And so she serves as a delegate in District 26 alongside Senator Muse, Delegate Valderrama, Delegate Turner. And so she's going to talk to us about this proposal for toll lanes on 495. And before you start, I just want to say I'm mad at myself because I was in Virginia yesterday and I sat in those two lanes to the left with the 495 and the 95 split. I wish I had timed myself. I think we moved 1 inch. For at least 30 minutes, I was sitting in that traffic. And so I understand the need to try to expedite some of the crush that comes across the Wilson Bridge. But with every proposal, we know there are pros and cons. So by all means, Delegate Woods, take it.
Thank you. So thank you so much for this opportunity to be with you on the Citizens for Accountability in Government vlog. I'm extremely excited to be here. Again, I am Delegate Jamila Woods. Yes, I am still a freshman delegate. However, believe it or not, this coming January will be my beginning of my 4th term. So it's time to run again. So time has just flown by. The I-495 Southside Express Lane project is a project that VDOT, Virginia Department of Transportation, has been heading up in an effort to put express lanes on I-495 that would cross the Wilson Bridge into Prince George's County, Maryland. I first became aware of this when I was invited to a meeting, actually on a humble by C.S. Proctor in Washington, D.C., that WMATA sponsored. And I was just flabbergasted when I heard that this is what VDOT was proposing. Excuse me. I immediately, because the Secretary of Transportation for Virginia began to make some very disparaging comments about Prince George's County, Maryland. He was not aware that there was a legislator in the room. I got up and spoke and immediately rebuffed some of the things that he was saying about Prince George's County, and also articulating my concern for VDOT's interest in putting these toll lanes over the Wilson Bridge. There's a number of reasons. My first concern was that we just didn't have the room for it. I know that at some time there was a proposal, and it was an agreed upon proposal to put the metro across the Wilson Bridge. Needless to say, that helps to reduce the carbon footprint, more people access to work. And as you know, in my district, District 26, right across the Wilson Bridge is like National Harbor. We've built so much in that area where people are coming to the area. And there's a lot of retail. We also have Top Golf there. And so we have a lot going on. There are a lot of people who are working jobs that are not high paying jobs. In other words, people who have to cross that Wilson Bridge, right, to get back and forth. It was previously agreed that the best, most feasible project for the Wilson Bridge was to put the Metro rail in. The bridge was actually fitted, so the rail could be put in at some point. However, at some stage, VDOT decided they wanted to put express lanes across the Wilson Bridge. And, you know,
I'm so sorry. Let me put myself on mute. I'm so sorry, Delegate Woods. Please ignore that sound. I don't know where that came from.
Okay. So, can you all hear me?
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, I began to immediately look into it and found some very disturbing information. And VDOT subsequently decided they're going to plan these meetings, these town halls in the community. Curiously, they only scheduled one for Prince George's County, Maryland. Now, for those of you who don't know, Prince George's County owns the majority of the Wilson Bridge, literally. VDOT has a portion, DC has a very small portion, and then the rest of the majority of the bridge, which also crosses, which of course crosses the Potomac River, is in Prince George's County. Now, I was told initially by representatives from VDOT that there was a memorandum of understanding from some years ago that gave VDOT permission to make decisions as it related to the Wilson Bridge. I've been asking for that memorandum for over a year. I've never seen it. No one else has ever seen it. Finally, during a meeting with the Maryland Department of Transportation, I was told that there was never a memorandum of understanding that VDOT would be in charge of the decisions for the Wilson Bridge. The only memorandum of understanding in existence is a memorandum of understanding that articulates that VDOT is responsible for getting the repairs done to the Wilson Bridge. However, the cost is shared with Prince George's County, with Maryland, and with the District of Columbia. There's a big...
And Delegate Woods.
Yes.
Thank you so much for saying that, because I didn't want to break you off your what you were saying, but I wanted to know about the profit sharing. If it's our bridge and they put a toll on it, we have to share maintenance. How much are we getting off the tolls?
Right.
Absolutely. Not one penny of any money designation is to Prince George's County, Maryland. VDOT tried to be very slick. They, in their meetings in Virginia, were telling the people in Virginia how this was going to improve Virginia, bus lanes, all of these things. Not one ever to this day has been made about any profit sharing with Prince George's County, Maryland. Now, here's the piece, though. I want to be very clear that we understand. We don't want to share in the profit because we don't want it to happen, because it's going to be, to give you an idea of the nature of catastrophe that this would be. Do you know that we have been informed that those tolls could go up to as much as $47 to cross the bridge? And let's be very clear, way. This is not one way. You know how some toll lanes you only pay one way. This is both ways. That those tolls go up to as much as $47. Who do we know can really afford
$94?
And
that's short. Woof.
That is absolutely ludicrous. But the reason that we say, and I want to be clear, that we don't want to share any expenditures, we don't want any money because we don't want it to happen.
Right.
Okay? Right. Is because we found out a number of things. One of the biggest concerns that we have is that there was a study that shows that unaddressed bottlenecks on any type of a highway that lead from a toll lane into a bottleneck. As you know, the Wilson Bridge ends in a bottleneck of traffic that goes to Washington, D.C., through Prince George's County, and then Route 210, Indian Head Highway, toward Charles County and other southern counties. That is a bottleneck. We found that there is a huge increase of traffic accidents when you have any toll lane that ends in. As you all probably already know, Indian Head Highway, Route 210, is determined to be the highway of death. Some people think it's considered the highway of death in Maryland. That is not true. It is considered the highway of death in the United States of America.
Wow.
Okay? Because it was supposed to literally be a temporary road when it was created, which is the excuse to why it built like this. The reason it's a highway because Indian Head Highway only highway in Maryland, straight ride. As you know, every way, all of your curves they have that prevent cars from being, or vehicles, motorcycles, or anything from being able to just speed straight. So, you know, curves on highways and all of those things are intentional to help to prevent those types of speeding. You know, Indian Head Highway had that drag racing accident where multiple were killed. Because of the way it's built, it is the perfect storm. And that is why it is considered the highway of death. And if you don't know, we just had an accident yesterday that also resulted in the deaths on Indian Head Highway. Any type of bottleneck, toll lanes that end in a bottleneck are going to increase congestion. They're going to increase the safety risk. That is the number one concern. Number two is that there is so much opposition to this. It is not just in Prince George's County, Maryland, even Virginia. I got a letter from the Senate president in Virginia who's saying, we don't think this is a good idea. Please put your brakes on. We don't want to do this. Now, VDOT told us that they sent out a survey, and that in the survey, they surveyed people from Maryland, the district, and Virginia, 600 people. Where's the survey? I said, can we see a copy of the survey? Can we see a copy of the results? If you have them, I have them. Still haven't reached. Okay. So my office decided, you know what? We're going to put out a survey ourselves. We surveyed 175 participants. I have to add that VDOT said in their survey, they had a 90% agreement to this building of these toll lanes. We surveyed 175 participants from District 26 in Prince County. Over 90% of them opposed the toll lanes. They opposed toll expansion. Now, where they found all of these people who agreed with this, and we could not find, over 90% opposed it. 1.6% felt that their voices are being heard by decision makers. People started going to these meetings. When I found out about the meeting, I had a town hall. I started sending information out on my email blast to my constituents. People showed up. They came, they voiced their fears that the project is a cash grab. It's financially discriminatory. It's definitely going to result in more traffic, more tolls, and no benefit whatsoever to Prince George's County, Maryland. Residents also talked about their support for the transit alternative, which we had all talked about from Jump Street, which had been an agreement that Metro Rail expansion was going to be the most feasible. And even if they wanted to have like an express lane, you don't have to have a toll lane to have an express lane where you can have a high vehicle.
Right. Can I ask a question?
Sure.
where are we going to get these extra lanes?
That's
Where
the
would-
whole. Want to get any extra lanes? There's no such thing as extra lanes. They're going to work with what they have. If you, I wish I had the. I didn't think bring you because I have a picture of the Wilson Bridge as it stands.
Mm-hmm.
You'll see where it has been equipped to prepare for Metro Rail to be on it. They're talking about what they would do would take out all of those lanes that were identified for Metro Rail. So that's the first problem. Then they had the unmitigated goal to test our intelligence by saying, well, listen, we'll do the toll lanes. And if it looks like Metro then later, we'll just decrease the toll lanes to one lane. I said to them with one question, I said, tell me where in the United States of America you have toll lanes with just one lane.
Right.
On the bridge.
Yeah. Because right now it's 5 lanes, right? It's
So you have yes, 5 lanes.
and then 2 lanes break off to go to the harbor, right?
Mm-hmm.
I believe either 2 or 1. It might be
One lane.
One lane. Okay.
Right. So they
Okay. Wow.
lanes to make them toll lanes. Can you see the problem that would cause?
Yeah.
Okay. We have the environmental concerns. You know, there was an environmental impact study that they were supposed to be doing. They've done it. Both Maryland Department of Transportation, WMATA, and my office consistently asked, where's the results of the environmental study? Oh, we'll get them to you. Maryland themselves said, listen, we've got some questions, we've got some concerns because it shouldn't take this long. Unfortunately, Maryland, who identifies themselves as a collaborator in this, we said, can you tell us what that means? You're a collaborator. Does that mean you're speaking out? And Maryland has not made any statements of clear disagreement with this project, which is concerning to us. They believe they have their reasons for doing that. They also have articulated that they are concerned that they have not received the answers from VDOT that they, asked for. And so we urge, the Commonwealth Transportation Board, the National Transportation Planning Board, to make sure that we do not move forward with this project, because VDOT even said, well, we may not have the study until we get the final decision. No. It doesn't work like that. We want the answer of the study prior to any decision being made. To give you an idea, the final decision is supposed to be made in September. They just called off. They had a time for everyone to submit comments. We had multiple people submit comments. We made sure that people submitted comments. We, as I said, had our own town hall. Channel 9 covered it, which was wonderful. We had over 200 people showed up. VDOT was shocked, was not expecting that to happen. And so we complained about the fact that they had only had one meeting in Prince George's County, Maryland. They had one meeting last year that no one knew about. And they had the unmitigated goal to say, when people complained and said, well, wait a minute, why don't we know about it? They said, oh, your delegates and your senators should have told you. And I asked them, how do we tell them when we have no record of the meeting? You did not reach out to us. We were not informed. You came into our district. You came into Prince George's County, held a meeting, and we had no knowledge of it. Well, guess what? That wasn't going to happen again. So when when we did get information, I made sure that I got it out to our constituents. As I said, folks showed up. They decided to have a meeting, and guess when they had it? The last week of session for the General Assembly, during the day, at a time that they know we are in crunch status. We're in session those last days for like 12, 14, 16 hours a day. And they decided to have a meeting during the week when it was impossible for legislators to be present. Well, I sent someone from my office. Again, they didn't know who he was. And so they made the comment that no one was there. He stood up and he tore Daryl Harris. I mean, I had to give him so much credit. He put it out there and let them know. And the community completely agreed with him. So, our demands have been that any advancement, anything that VDOT is doing has to be put on hold. We must have an environmental analysis prior to a final decision. We want a transparent, inclusive process that involves Maryland's impacted communities. We want them to honor the commitment to transit first planning, Wilson Bridge reserve space for future rail expansion. We also want to remove this project from the visualized 2050 plan, or at minimum delay any inclusion until Maryland and WMATA are fully engaged and consent in clearly obtaining this. Here's the piece. When I got involved with this, WMATA was involved and WMATA was given input. All of a sudden now they've decided we're going to back off of this and let you all deal with it. Well, that's a problem. That's a problem.
Yeah, I would think so, because they represent the interest of the region. And so a couple of questions, Delegate Jamila. Where did this initiate? Who started all of this change from having the Metro Rail versus these toll lanes?
This was fully, completely done by VDOT.
Mm.
This was VDOT's idea. This was VDOT's actions. As I said, MDOT said we're collaborating. We still wanted to get some clarity on what does that mean, you're collaborating?
Yeah, I was going to say, is there some legal action involved in this? I mean, I hear you saying that you've requested this report and this survey and this copy of that. And even if our Maryland representation, our agency is not being cooperative, seems like there's some legal interest that could be taken.
To be honest with you, I'm not quite sure what that legal interest would be. Because so this is my question, is who would take the legal interest? You know,
Right.
We did get the, so I can tell you this much, the Prince George's County Council has spoken out completely against it. We got the Prince George's County delegation. I did my letter that was due to VDOT, and I was able to get the chair of the Prince George's County Council, Delegate Nicole Williams, the vice chair, Andrea Harrison, as well as a number of other delegates. And I will add that Delegate Edith Patterson from Charles County District 28 has been very invested, actually had a town hall in Charles County, Maryland, after all of the things that we did here in Prince George's County. And so I've had a number of people who have gone onto it. Fortunately, we have not been successful in response from the governor's office. I was actually quite surprised to learn at our meeting that VDOT had in Oxon Hill a few weeks back that they had been in touch with the governor's office, because we just was not getting a response. Not given a clear picture of how the governor's office is responding. It's important, I believe, that we get the governor's office to respond.
Right.
Well, that's probably where the legal action would come from, is if the governor speaks out against it, then he brings along that body.
But if they're saying that the state transportation office is saying that they are collaborating, that's confusing, because it seems like they're working in conjunction, so there wouldn't be any legal action because they're participants.
And they, every time they say this, they say collaborating as in we're just working, but they say themselves, and they finally did say in front of VDOT, well, we've asked you for things that you have not provided to us either. So that's a real concern. That talked about all of the reasons why this was good. However, they failed to show any study alternatives to this toll lane. As I said, it had already been put in place that we were going to have Metro Rail. The bridge was built with to be outfitted for Metro Rail.
Yeah.
Studied the alternatives to the toll lanes, which is a major problem, you know?
Right.
Can I comment, please? Delegate?
What did you say? I'm sorry.
I would like to comment just briefly. My name is Derek, and I am in the field of transportation. And if I recall, back in the early 90s, I was privy to some discussions very shortly after, when there used to be tolls on Woodrow Wilson Bridge way back in the day. I don't know if y'all remember that.
I didn't know that.
I remember that as a child. Okay. And the issue then was they were using the tolls, of course, to pay for the bridge. And it took so long for us to get the new version of the Woodrow Wilson Bridge we have now, because Maryland, DC, and Virginia couldn't come together, from what I recall, on who was going to pay for the bridge. So just hindsight 2020, listening to you, talk about them wanting tolls now, sounds like it still needs to be some payments for that bridge. And just from an infrastructure perception, and as far as moving traffic, to toll people going across and to toll them again, number one, that's a financial issue for hardworking people. If you're going to charge me $47 if I
Each
got
way.
Virginia to work and come back across, I might as well, in between gas and paying to get across the bridge, I'm dipping into my check. But also, if you look at it from a traffic pattern stance, you have to slow down to pay a toll, correct?
No, well, this is not going to be tolls. You know, Maryland has eliminated tolls.
So how is this going to be electronically?
Yeah.
The passes.
So everybody going to have an easy pass?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's going to.
So now I got to buy an easy pass and I got to pay the toll. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. Yeah.
That sounds like it, Derek.
That
And wait a
thing's gonna
minute,
be
for those
ching,
who
ching,
don't
ching,
go
ching.
across that bridge all the time,
Right.
you know, like I might just be going to drive down and see my sister.
And that's another thing. There's a lot of people who travel from the south and from the north who use the Wilson Bridge.
Right. So when you're going on and you have to stop, like 4th of July, probably be a lot of us like that. You're telling me that you just have to buy an easy pass no matter what, or how do you slow down
and you pay
one lane?
So let's be clear. Everybody is not going to travel a toll lane because everybody can't afford. However, because everybody's not going to travel a toll lane, it's going to back up the traffic that's on the regular.
Exactly.
But I'm trying to figure out, where is that toll lane? Where is it starting from? How long would that be?
So the toll lane actually starts in Virginia. Let me see. I have I actually have that somewhere. I can find it for you. It starts over in Virginia prior to the Wilson Bridge, and then goes across the Wilson Bridge and then ends in Prince George's County, Maryland.
Right, but like when you're coming down 95, and you're getting to close to where you're veering off on that right, the toll lane ends some miles back, if I remember.
And it will actually begin. So it's going to begin probably a few miles back.
So, okay. So then, and I'm just trying to figure out where they're going to even put it there, because it's so congested there, because you're either going to do 95 or you're going to get on 295. So I just don't even see where they're going to have the room, the space. That just sounds like a mess.
So can I be clear? Is it just starting in Virginia on that side and coming over to Maryland, or does the toll start also on the opposite side?
No, no tolls start in Maryland. All of the tolls are in Virginia across the Wilson Bridge. Once you get across the Wilson Bridge, there's no additional tolls, because they can't make toll decisions in Prince George's County, Maryland.
Right.
Another question: which part of the bridge was the rail supposed to be able to access if we were going to get rail?
Entire bridge. It would be fine. It would come across the entire Wilson Bridge.
So go ahead, Derek.
Now, does that affect where people walk and work out and run across the bridge?
So no. So where you see the walk lanes on the Wilson Bridge, they would remain.
Okay. So okay. So I'm coming out of Prince George's County. I'm going across the bridge. So basically, as soon as I hit the Virginia side, because I can access a toll road, and that could take me all the way.
The toll road would start on the bridge. That's the problem.
Right.
Oh.
The tolls would start on the bridge. That's where you're going to get the thing is on the bridge. The cameras would be on the bridge.
As soon as I get on the bridge. Okay.
Exactly.
Wow.
But it would, in other words, you can't avoid it. If you cross the bridge, at some point on the bridge, there's going to be the toll cameras.
Okay.
Oh wow! So not just
That
a
sounds like
one
a
or two
mess.
lanes, all the lanes. Wow.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how do you,
Here,
how are you going to, you get on the bridge, are you just immediately hopping on the toll lane? And I can see the congestion starting to build up
Me
that
too.
way.
Absolutely.
right. So you would have to select, coming on the bridge, you would have to select whether you're going to be on the regular lanes or on.
Or
Oh, I can see accidents happening all the way because they're
All
going to say
day long.
$47 and try, and there's really not a lot of space to
Right.
navigate.
Oh, no, I'm not going to do that. Right.
Right.
Because as you know, the way when I said the $47, that's not what it's going to be as a straight cost. The money is determined, the more traffic there is on the road is what
hmm
causes the increase in tolls. That's how all of your toll lanes are right now.
I'm going 301. I'm going all the way down 301.
There, yeah, someone asked, who asked for this? Yeah, this is not rational. This is
No.
You're going to build congestion on all of these alternative roads
Right.
also.
right.
Because you're going to have
Right.
that's going to find other ways to go into the District of Columbia where they can avoid the Wilson Bridge. And those roads were not also built for large bodies of traffic. So any way you look at it, the
hmm
alternatives are also going to cause problems for other areas. Right.
Right.
I have a
So I'm
question.
sorry. Go ahead, Derek.
Well, I'll be digressing. So if y'all
Okay, so let me
go
ask
ahead.
you a question. We've already had, plane crashes in our area, and is any well, that doesn't go into Maryland, but it goes into DC. Okay, disregard. I'm directionally challenged. So I'm trying to figure out, you know, other ways they can go, and are there thoughts of not going out every day across that Woodrow Wilson Bridge anymore is a blessing, but going across it, I was already confused. Just just
Yeah.
after not going across it in a couple of years. And I can imagine people, I miss that turn every time I go to see my God grand. And I can't even imagine going across that bridge, and it's a toll that you just there at the toll. And
Feel
you
like
are going.
even now, the way the Wilson Bridge is set up, somebody talked about the lane to go to National Harbor. You have a lane, you have what's called three through lanes and local lanes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's the lane.
if you don't take a certain lane, you
confused.
have access to get maybe off at the exit you want to get off
That's
of.
right.
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 That's
Right.
right.
Much further and then come around a different way. So there's so many reasons.
You gotta pay attention.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I was thinking about, that local lane. You're gonna lose that, and I take that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Oh my
that
gosh.
the GPS made us going into Virginia. It had my daughter taking the local lane instead of putting her straight across the bridge. And I was like, why is it doing that? And I guess maybe that's like traffic control. So, Delegate Jamila, what action steps would you offer to the constituents? Where can they find more information, get emails about this? Because this isn't just a District 26 issue. This
That's right.
is a Prince George's County, state of Maryland issue.
Prince George's, Charles County. I mean, think about where the traffic not even, and that's why I'm so glad that Delegate Patterson got involved, because it impacts those people that are going down Indian Head Highway, Route 210, traveling of Columbia or traveling across the Wilson Bridge, which is a lot of traffic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's better. It was better for a minute. Now it's getting,
it's
it's
horrible.
bad. It's bad. It's like we bad.
Bad. It's really, really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage people to go to my website, JamilaJWoods.com. We have a whole listing of information. And we also put out a bi-weekly newsletter. So I encourage people, sign up for our newsletter. Go to my website, JamilaJWoods.com. We will direct you to the VDOT. You can also go to the VDOT website yourself. Now, my encouragement is that don't just go to the VDOT website, because you know that the people who write the narrative try to control the narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're going to tell you every reason why this is a good idea. That's why I'm encouraging people to go to my website. I don't know of anyone else that's doing this, but I am giving you the responses to those, see that environmental, I don't know who's doing that, the environmental impact analysis and all of those things on my website. I'm talking to you about that so you know why this is problematic. Of course, VDOT's representation is about how good it is and why it's going to be so impactful and so important. So I really encourage people. I don't discourage you from going to VDOT's website, but I really encourage you to go to jamila.jwoods.com so that you can get both perspectives and not one perspective. Because like I said, y'all know how it is as people of African-American descent, people who write the narrative always make themselves look like they're the heroes.
Right.
Right. So should we encourage people to reach out to the governor to make a statement about this?
I think they should reach out to their governor. I think they should reach out to their legislators. The more people, needless to say, this is the way it works. The more talk about why this is a problem, the more fire we put under this flame. You know, we have to get people invested, understanding, you know, the impacts, why this is going to be so detrimental.
Right.
This is
well,
crazy.
We are winding down, and we are grateful for you taking the time. If you want to mention that other initiative that you work on, please do. If not, let me know when you'd like to come back on and talk about it.
Sure. So you're talking about my mental health work?
Yes.
Yes, I'd love an opportunity to come back because that's a whole nother conversation.
Right.
Also, that's huge.
Yes.
In Maryland, that is hugely, I've put in several pieces of legislation. That is where my heart is. I serve on health and government operations. For those of you who don't know, I begged to be on health and government operations because of my concerns about mental health issues, something I've been fighting on in Maryland long before I was ever elected to office. And I'll never forget that I've gone to meetings with legislators and Central Committee and all of those things talking about we got to work on our mental health, and it just fell on deaf ears. And and now we're in a mental health crisis. And I'm in office, and so I have been putting in pieces of legislation. We have seen some increases. We've seen we got a bill passed this year about pediatric overstays. Do you know we had youth and children in emergency rooms? Let me back up so that I make sure you heard what I said. In emergency rooms where they were staying for up to 6 months in the emergency room because there were not adequate psychiatric facilities where they could get services met. So they literally were living in emergency rooms.
Wow.
Delegate, can I say this also? What I found out recently, I have a father who has Alzheimer's and dementia. And he was seeing a neurologist, but he needed to see a psychoanalyst, a psychiatrist, etc. I was given a list of names from Medicare to contact to try to get him a doctor on the site. No one on the list was taking new patients. No one. I took him to an appointment today, and I asked for a list, and I explained to him that list he gave me before, no one's on there. And I tell you how far back this goes. Tony, when did mommy die?
2017.
2017. That, you know, during that time, I still had an assisted living, and I could get someone to come in. Nothing now, no one. So it is a big deal. What that says, we're apparently getting a higher number of people with this disease, or they're not paying out to help people with these diseases. And so, I mean, it's crazy. It's great. It's so disappointing.
Yeah, it is. It's worse than a lot of people think.
Yeah,
it's really worse than a lot of people think, because, you know, what we're used to is people who have clear mental health challenges that we know about, right? What we have now are so many people with these hidden mental health disabilities, right?
Absolutely.
That the world doesn't know about. And because we don't have people who are out there able to identify them, to assess them, to do those biopsychosocial evaluations, one of my biggest challenges is that you go to your doctors, and every one of us on this line, if you get a physical, They say in your physical that you got a mental health evaluation. That is not
Liar, pants on fire.
because what they count as a mental health evaluation is when your doctor asks you, "Oh, well, how are you sleeping?
Oh, wow.
Are
Right?
you under any stress?
Are you feeling any stress?" That's it. It's usually those three questions: how you eating, how you sleeping, are you feeling any stress? You got people that can, if they have the proper evaluation, can be made aware that they're having some possible anxiety, stress,
Absolutely.
or early onset Alzheimer, early onset.
Absolutely.
Asking those questions, how you sleeping, how you eating, because number one, we don't even know that we're honestly answering the questions, right?
That's right.
Because everybody's perspective of how they sleeping and how they're eating is different.
Right.
You know, somebody might say, I'm sleeping well, 5 or 6 hours a night. Well, other people are like, if I don't get 8 hours, I can't function.
Right.
And I didn't know it until I got so stressed out about, just things that seem minor, that my lack of sleep was causing me to be out of sorts. I couldn't explain it. I didn't know why I felt the way I felt. I just know something was wrong.
A lot of people who have mental health challenges go to the doctors for pain in their body. Because many people don't realize that pain in your body is not always arthritis. It literally can be a direct result of anxiety and stress. People don't understand that. When I go and I do sessions, Levon, and I ask people in these sessions, I say, how many people in here feel like you've had a mental health challenge, a mental health disorder? It could be a room of 300 to 500 people and maybe 10 people will raise their hand. How many people in here have ever been stressed out? Man, you got people raising both hands and some raising, right? Have you ever heard the term stress kills? Everybody in the room says yes.
Right. And I know that Tanya gets on me all the time between, her and my siblings. Donna, you got to take care of yourself. You can't take care of mom, dad, and you got to take some time for yourself. But it becomes so difficult sometimes, it's a lot. I'm greater than everybody here. And I know.
And stop trying to rationalize everything. It's not always a
Well, Jamila.
explanation.
Well, Jamila, thank you so much for letting us know a little bit about what it is that you're doing
Yes,
in
loved it. We
Annapolis
can't wait
outside
for
of
that
this.
conversation.
And we definitely want to bring you
Yes.
back so you can
I have one
outline all
Wait a
that you're
minute.
doing.
Derek wanted to ask a question.
It won't be long. I just wanted to digress back to 210 because 2 weeks ago, we talked about the study that the Maryland Park and Planning did in the 2035 Purple Line transportation edition for Prince George's County. And as I read that, looking at the southern part of the county, especially in 210 Fort Washington, there was not a lot of development for the people in there in terms of bus transportation.
That's right.
And, movement along 210 and on the back roads of Fort Washington, which we know are very antiquated and old. So to hear you say that 210 was the accident thoroughfare of the nation, is there a reason to your knowledge as to why they're shying away from developing that area and creating better movement for the people in the Fort Washington area to get in and out of there?
I can't really answer about, you're talking about the back roads. I don't know a lot about the back roads. I just know that as we all know, that the building and development, unfortunately, does not have the greatest transportation infrastructure in place because there's just not room for it. If you go back in those Fort Washington roads, Derek, a majority, if I'm not mistaken, and I'll be corrected if I'm wrong, a majority of those roads don't even have sidewalks or anything.
They don't.
Right.
Straight from the road to a person's house. Well, how you develop that, because now you're going to be infringing on property. That's a whole nother situation when you start talking about taking people's property and and that's a whole new set of problems and challenges when you start looking at those domain, trying to take domain of these properties so that you can build roads, because some people would literally be forced to move.
Right.
And that clarifies it for me, because I was feeling that was why development down there was always so slow to take place. But I guess the residents of Fort Washington are okay with the access they have to the bus and the rail system the
Not
way
really.
things are.
Not really.
No, I did see that there's supposed to be an expansion of the bus in Fort Washington, but we're going to let Delegate Woods go. And
Yeah,
we thank you,
so much.
and we
Thank
hope
you.
that you will share this post through our page when it's up tonight. And so we could get some more of your constituents following us, because we have a good representation from South County, so we can always take more.
And also, if you can put out the information that what you're doing for mental health, if there's a way I can help or volunteer, I would like to look at that. Shut up, Tanya. Okay, she's going to get on me about doing too much. Okay.
I still thought
She can take a session with you.
yes,
Thank you.
in touch with all of you. You know, feel free to reach out to me. And Levon, I don't even mind if you give them all my cell number. I don't want to say that online, but
Okay.
Everybody's welcome to have my cell number to ask me any questions. I rely on people like you to help to inform what I bring forth in Annapolis. And so your voice, your opinion, your concerns are my voice, my opinion, my concern. So thank you.
Amen.
Thank you.
Working with you.
We appreciate
right.
you.
Thanks. Have a good one.
Have a good night. And
Thank
happy
you.
4th. Happy 4th.
Thank you. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.
Wow.
Well,
That was a good session.
Yeah. I'm still trying to imagine how it's going to be done, but you know,
well, we're going to imagine it not being done.
Well, that's what I was going to say. We're going to follow Delegate Woods' lead and say, don't do it.
Yeah, and what in the Facebook comments, we had a question about: are they working? Is the delegation working together on this matter? And I guess we got the answer, and that was no. Indirectly, it doesn't seem like there are other district leaders who are banding with Delegate Woods. So we would encourage everyone, as she said, to write to your legislators and tell them that you are either for or against this proposal, and write to the governor as well. I mean, how do we want to inconvenience our residents and not even make a dime from it? That doesn't even make sense. And we know we need money, right? So
we got an issue now. Remember?
Right. Yeah. All right, Tanya, you're up next to talk about this amazing environment that we have with our school system and our local government. And the state government too, because they all wrapped up in this.
Well, there's a lot going on, so y'all are gonna have to help me to stay calm.
I'm sorry. Are our guests on yet?
No, I just got the email. They are not going to. They're actually at a conference. They were trying to juggle the conference that they're at, and there are different time zones, so they're not going to be able to join us. But I just want to I tell you, it is it's amazing what our educators go through. So let's first start with and Sherman, were you going to join in on anything first?
No, you're fine.
Okay. So let's first start with Miller House's ousted, being ousted by the board based on what we are starting to find out was a bogus and misleading narrative of a vote of no confidence. What's very disappointing is that we are finding out that our board leadership knew that she had misled people, but he our board leadership still allowed that narrative to go forward, that the teachers did a vote of no confidence. So we're just gonna, because we're not gonna stay on here long since it's a holiday weekend coming up. But a couple things I just want to share is just some. Hold on, let me get to sharing my screen. Okay. So can everybody see my screen?
When the cat's away, the mice will play.
So, House's separation was calculated by PGCEA, and I think last week we shared one email with you all that was given to us, and that was a dissent and a protest regarding the vote of no confidence. And let me try to put this up so it can really be seen. And so, our board leadership knew that Dr. Donna Christie had created a false narrative about that vote of no confidence, and she was called out on it by her own directors as well as some internal people within the PGCEA membership. She was supposed to go to the press and actually make a correction of what she had done. All of this was supposed to be done. And this information, as you can see, came out June 12th at 7 a.m. The board did not meet with Mr. House until that evening. So our leadership, the board leadership, knew well that misinformation had been given by Dr. Donna Christie. And you have to wonder, why did she do it? So another piece of information that we just want to share, and this is information that we are getting from members of PGCEA, where it was made clear that they had been told over and over again that the only way that they were going to get the contract that supposedly was being negotiated for them by Dr. Christie was to make sure House was out. He was their roadblock. He was the person that they had to remove in order for this to happen. So we have to understand, that's why we said this was calculated by PGCEA. And again, under Donna Christie's tenure, this is coming from members, the union played a direct role in Prince George's County schools becoming liable to pay out nearly $2 million for 2 superintendents, because that's what we're paying now. We had to pay Mr. House, and we are now paying Dr. Sean Joseph. Other things that coming from internal, this disgruntled stuff that's coming internally. Like they said, let's rip the bandage off. It seems that the deceitful Donna Christie has made a career out of weaponizing her power as a white female leader to bully, belittle, and strategically undermine strong Black men who refuse to bow to her snake oil tactics. This is not our words. This is her membership word. One of the things that they said, she fabricates numbers to push her personal vendetta, as proven in the so-called vote of no confidence. So this is coming from members. This is not our opinion. This is what members have seen. She twists language like a snake in a Sunday lace. She weaponizes allegations. Remember, conveniently, the untimely alleged accusations against another Black male that she has put up against a male leader in another local union that she could not bend to her will. And then if we do not question her motives after seeing the same tired pattern repeated with former Superintendent House, then shame on us for pretending not to know better. This is coming from inside. So this was all calculated to make sure House is out of the way, so that in her putting out this false narrative, fabricating numbers about the vote of no confidence, because you can see, I think they said it was less than 1,000 people that actually voted for that vote of no confidence. It was not even a meeting of the body. Our understanding that from what we've learned, it was a Zoom meeting. Some people who spoke out were actually silenced on the Zoom meeting. We had a teacher that came to testify at the board meeting last Thursday, and she was just conveniently left off the list when they said that they knew they had definitely registered early, but they were not allowed to testify. And you can see.
Hold on, Tanya. They were not left off. They were skipped over. They were.
Well, yeah. And the only reason why I say left off is what we found out the board is doing is after people sign up, they're going through the registrants' applications and cherry picking who they want.
So they were passed over. They were passed over. There was not one testimony that was objectionable. And so that was intentional. So we're gonna make it as harsh as it felt.
And you can see from internal, let us not kid ourselves. This isn't the PGCEA show anymore. It is the Donna Christie traveling circus. Now, so, and let's put this in perspective. So she gives misinformation about the vote of no confidence. Now, I led a PTA group back when Andre Hornsby was here, and we did a vote of no confidence, and ours was really legitimate. We focused on real performance issues, and we were able to identify real performance issues. But even with that, the board made it clear, and that's because we were dealing with adults. We weren't dealing with immature board leadership that is more following a playbook of somebody else's agenda. And that board leadership made it clear to us that even after we delivered the vote of no confidence, that could not have any bearing on how the superintendent at that time would be evaluated, that information or would be disciplined. It could be used to help make him improve, but it would not be used to tell him he had to give up his position. Unlike our immature, inexperienced board did. So fast forward. We have Dr. Sean Joseph here. Contract effective yesterday. And here we go. All of a sudden, we get this coming out saying that they have a tentative agreement. All after one day. Come on, y'all. We are not stupid. How in the world, after one day, you have a full understanding of all these issues?
It's magic.
Yeah, it sounds like you were close to what Mr. House was doing anyway. So all of a sudden, Dr. Joseph came here from scandal, now in the midst of scandal. But anyway, a tentative agreement demonstrates what is possible when we lead with purpose and prioritize the people who serve our children daily. You know what? I don't understand that. You've only been here one day. So how do you really it just makes no sense.
Here's my thing, Tanya. Why is it that they feel the need to try to discredit and diminish Mr. House? They can never do their dirt without making other people seem like they were doing dirt.
And you know what? And what is so interesting about that? I'm wondering, because in most separation agreements, you can't do that. So hopefully Mr. House will see this. We'll see some of this, because you're right. And I would think that his separation agreement would have something where that is not allowed. But here we go right here. Here's another thing that's really funny. This agreement reflects our unwavering belief that when we honor and invest in our educators, we uplift our entire community. The board is proud to have engaged in meaningful dialogue that led to the contract aligned with our shared values. There is a policy, I think it's policy 0120, that says the board is not supposed to engage in collective bargaining without the express written approval of the superintendent. So I'm wondering, what dialogue have you all been engaging in? Because state law says you shouldn't do it. And then we have Dr. Donna Christie, where internally you have members who have said she misled them. She gave false information. She was told that she was supposed to correct that information. And I believe the email that we have seen, it shows it's like as early as June the 7th. She was supposed to correct information. You know, this is supposed to be an open negotiation. So I'm not sure if these final negotiations that they had were open, because I don't remember seeing anything posted that they were going to have any
That's a good
open
point, Tanya.
Yeah.
They went through all of that to get open negotiations. We're the people who wanted the open negotiations. Why aren't they protesting and objecting to all of this? What's the silence about?
Oh, exactly. And that's what she pushed for. And remember, in violation of the Opens Meeting Act, the chair allowed her to do a presentation to the entire board on collective bargaining. Go figure. Go figure. So that's one of the things that we have. So, just y'all noodle on that just a little. One day after internally, we're getting information that the president of PGCEA is pushing her members to say, if we move House out the way, then we can get what we want. We don't even really know what it is. And I did reach out to some members. They still have not seen this so-called tentative agreement. So we don't even know if it's what they want. Now, let's talk about the school board meeting. So I'm going to stop sharing for a few minutes. So on Thursday, LaVon, do you want to recap some of what happened Thursday? Let me let someone else tell it so people won't say that I'm making things up.
Hey, well, you know what? Here's the deal. Find us some people who want to talk with us, who have concerns as we do, and we'll be more than happy to share the platform with them. We are just the initial folk. There are other platforms that are doing the same, but it's easy to talk about us than it is to talk about what the problems are. But Thursday night, Tanya, Derek, and I attended the school board meeting along with parent activists, Dolores.
And Sherman.
Oh, I'm sorry, Sherman. He left. In my mind. Okay. Anyway, Sherman.
I had to leave because I was gonna cut somebody out.
Well, they were 45 minutes late. Remember.
Right. So they were 45 minutes late starting. The chair, Brandon Jackson, I'm going to say his name, and all y'all that told him what I said at the last time, make sure he watches tonight. He comes in and he gave a lukewarm apology for starting late because they were in the back colluding about how they were going to vote on the contract that nobody had seen before that afternoon. And so we're sitting there, and the county council chair is
all around.
is going through the room. He could speak to everybody except
sitting there
us.
impatiently.
Well, he wasn't just sitting, he was walking around making sure people saw him like he was the overseer. As someone said, he is the overseer. I don't think we should give him that title,
right. Master
but
Reynolds.
I was going to say, is it a House Negro? Is that
yeah.
the one we want?
No, you think he's Master Reynolds.
Yeah, and so my thing is just, and he's talking to the union reps and everything. It just was a bad look. And so we were surrounded by educators who several of them had been eliminated from the roster to speak.
Yes.
We start the public comment section, and my last count was that there were 6 speakers in support of Legacy Public Charter School because it's time for them to have their renewal. And they all basically said the same thing. We are accomplishing great things. Our scores are better than the scores in all of Prince George's County Public Schools. So you should support us because we're doing a better job than your educators are doing. That's basically what they all said.
Right.
And then there were a couple of people who spoke in support of Mr. Joseph. Is he a doctor?
He's doctor. Well,
Okay,
remember, was it about 4 that didn't show?
Yeah, I've had it at 3 at last count before we went out to talk to the press. And so 3 didn't show. One was a person who was in support, a former school board member, Pat Fletcher. They dug her up from somewhere. And she was a no-show, and then we find out that she spoke later on. So I had requested of one of the school board members to put on at least 3 of the people who were sitting there who had been eliminated from the list. And I was told that the chair said no because they were trying to make up time. Well, they had given out all these bogus awards and stuff that we really didn't need to sit through. They could have done that at another time. And so it was a very biased.
They should have had a pizza party for them and called it a day.
Right. It was a very biased meeting.
Yeah.
And I don't understand how, when you're in a democracy, you can only put up people who agree with you as a leader. But remember, Brandon was adamant that he is not part of the progressive rebel bloc. But everything he says and does lately looks like he's part of the progressive rebel bloc.
I'm telling you.
And I'm going to keep saying it because you told us you were not. And so when you do things that you do, it looks like, if you walk like a duck, talk like a duck, it's a duck.
Look,
so
they got him on leash. He's on leash.
So we had some signs that some of our young leaders made for us. And the Shermans, I think somebody put in the CAG chat that we had some virtue signaling being done by one of the board members. And so we had some signs that some of our young leaders made for us, and we were holding them up. And the reporter from Channel 9 came over and asked, were we in support of or in opposition to Mr. Joseph? And we made it clear that we were not opposed to Mr. Joseph. We were opposed to the lack of integrity and the violation of due process. Yes. And it just stinks. Everything is happening so fast, which says to us, they've been working behind the scenes on this for months. This didn't just happen. And we're going to pull together a timeline for people to see at some point. But all that to say, we went out and we were interviewed by channels 4, 7, and 9. And we know that they've been running the interviews, the conversations. And while we were out there, the vote started for the contract. You want to take over, Tanya?
Yeah, that and I just want to swing back. So it's funny, and I'm glad you said they dug up Pat Fletcher. Let's remember, Pat Fletcher was on the board that was so corrupt that we got the hybrid board. So let's remember that. Yeah, but she is for Joseph. So let's just think about that. Okay, first thing I want to do is I am going to make sure I share my sound and share my screen. And so what I want to do is play for everybody. It just so, and there was a storm that night. There was a storm. And as a result of this storm, as Brandon Jackson said, we had technological difficulties. We had technical difficulties. I'm sorry, y'all. But we had some technical difficulties that just happened to erase or remove from the recording that was initially posted to the board. It just removed the comments made by Pamela Boozer Struthers and Robin Brown as to why they were going to vote or abstain from voting that night. And so we did put a little stink up, and based on that, the information was then posted on the board. And I just want you to hear that. This is that recording. And then we're going to get into, I'm going to follow up on the dialogue behind that. So let's first listen to this. Can everybody hear?
No.
I can't hear either.
You can't hear?
No.
No.
Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm going to stop sharing. And I'm going to share again. Can you hear now?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Listen clearly to what the attorney says.
Well, uh, I'll pull it up.
Now, I want y'all to pay close.
Playing. So you can
Remember,
press pause.
remember, he said,
Tanya,
yes.
they can't hear anything that you're playing. So just give me a moment while I pull it up.
Okay, because Donna said she couldn't hear it. Okay, go ahead.
I can hear.
We can hear inside the meeting. They can't hear outside.
Okay.
This was which meeting?
This was on the
6/26.
26th. And make sure you do the updated part. Because one of the things that I want you to pay attention is that the attorney says 4-201 is what he's reading from. You got it?
It's coming up. Give me a moment.
Okay. Okay. And one of the reasons why Sherman's getting that, one of the reasons why that is important, because in the law, the education law, we have carve-outs for Prince George's County, and then we have I'm sorry, what was that again, Sherman?
What was the timestamp?
You have to use the special post that they have. You can't use the one that's the timestamp, because that has it all erased. So when you go to the board site, you'll see one that says June 26th updated meeting.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
it's
one
not on YouTube. You have to go to their website.
You got to go to the website. Yes. Yeah, they don't have it posted on YouTube. Remember, Prince George's County has carve-outs. So you'll see like 4-201, which applies to everybody else. And then there's 4-201.1 that applies to Prince George's County. So he was reading 4.201. That doesn't apply to us. We have a carve-out.
Tanya, put the link in the chat for me.
Oh, okay. Let me go back and...
And by the chat, I mean the Zoom chat.
Yeah, I realized I just closed it. There you go. So that's really important. That's one of the more important things. The other thing to pay close attention to is that when you hear Dr. Felton Moss speak, and he speaks about the process that they are following. So he said, I just want to make sure we're clear about the process. We've already appointed the interim superintendent, and we're only now voting on the contract, and then we're going to go look at what the law really says about that.
And what's the timestamp?
I think it was like 1.58. It's where it starts with just the audio and says technical difficulties. So, and also, pay close attention to that. And then we're going to go look at and see what the law actually says about the actual process. Find it.
We're back, everybody.
Okay.
Spin. Board members, would you like to pull any of the other items for the discussion of the general orders?
Thanks, Sherman.
Okay. If there is no objection, the consent agenda items 15.1 through 15.13 will be adopted. All right. The motion carries. All right. Now moving on to unfinished business. There's no unfinished business. Now moving to 17.0 to recognize the items that we pulled from the consent agenda. If there is no objection, I would like to actually, what was that? So we're going to be recording at the same time, and we consulted with legal counsel, and they said it's okay to proceed as long as we record and it can be posted afterwards due to the technological difficulty. So we're in good standings according to our legal teams, both from the administrative side and also from the Board of Education side. We're just one PGCPS. And so with that being said, without objection, just because of the technological difficulties, I was hoping that we can move item 15.17 to the top, just so we can make sure we get it done before any other technological difficulties happen. Is there any objection? Yeah, that's the interim contract. We're going to, yeah, we're going to do. Yep. So you want to make the motion? Go for it, I'm ready.
Mr. Chair, on item 15.17, the interim superintendent's contract, I move at this time for approval of the interim superintendent's contract for Dr. Sean Joseph.
Be moved to the front. We're still going to present it. We just moved it to the front.
Yeah.
Okay. Move it to the front. Is there any objection? No. Okay. We'll move 15.17 to the first item on the general orders list. So the chair recognizes Dr. Coleman to present. I'm sorry, Mr. Horn. Excuse me.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just want to point out that I understand from the board members that they've received some comments about the process that took place with the interim superintendent. I wanted to point out that this situation is set forth in the Maryland Education Annotated Code section 4-201.1, which discusses the process that takes place when you have a vacancy in the superintendent's position. And in that particular case, as we've had here, we had the county executive make a recommendation and the board to vote on the superintendent in the interim position as set forth by the statute. The statute says, the appointment must be confirmed by the state superintendent, and the appointment, the interim contemplates the appointment through July 1st, and then from July 1st through June 30th of 2026.
Okay, Sherman, can you stop?
There was a
Okay, so I just want to just pull up really quick what the law actually says, really quick. Because, oh, Sherman, do I need to have you show this? Or will I be able to show this on mine?
You should be able to show anything. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is what the law actually says for that. Now it does say July 1, and as far as the date that you need to select this interim person, here it is down here on F. So it does say July 1. We were a little confused and we wanted to get some clarification about the additional dates that he said that the law speaks about with that July 1 through January 30th. So we weren't sure about that. So that was one of the things that was not clear that came from the attorney. But it does say that they serve until July 1, which didn't make kind of a lot of sense because the board said that they appointed him on June 26, and they said he serves until July 1. So again, this is where some of the way we have language in the law makes things a little confusing. Okay, Sherman, go ahead and finish playing.
Contract that was proposed, and the board has the ability to vote on that to support or not support the contract.
Thank you so much, Arthur Horn. And so what I did want to add is a bit of context around, the way we were moving so fast. So between the separation of the previous superintendent and the end of the school year, I think it was like about 8 days, roughly 8 days or so. And so we didn't have a superintendent in place, an interim superintendent in place. So Dr. Coleman, as the chief operating officer, the highest ranking official, or cabinet member in PGCPS, has led the charge on day-to-day operations. So there was no interim superintendent in place. So tonight, what we had to do is get a contract in place that can essentially bridge the gap between now, today, and the 30th, because of the fiscal. We need signatures for different financial documents and different documentation that need authority from the superintendent. So we need a superintendent in place from today until the 30th that can sign all of the documentation, needing that signature. And then we also need a contract, the same contract was the addendum, so we need the primary contract to be able to take care of from July 1st until June 30th for 2026. So I just wanted to make that clear. And then I also wanted
Sherman,
to talk
can
to
you stop, Sherman?
Allow Dr. Coleman to speak as well.
Yeah, thank you, Board Chair Jackson. And just to that
Sherman,
point around that period while we do not.
Okay, now a couple things that we still need clarity on. One, he mentioned that this contract was an addendum, so we don't even know what was it an addendum to? What was this first contract? Because he said this was an addendum. The other thing that he mentioned was Dr. Coleman had been doing the day-to-day activities. We're kind of confused. How did that happen? There was never a meeting of the board where we saw this board conduct business and voted so that they were saying that Dr. Coleman would be handling the day-to-day operation. So how did that happen? There was no action for that to have been done. So other stuff where leadership is just working outside the law, outside the board policies. So never an explanation of that. Okay, Sherman, go ahead. Thank you.
Have an interim superintendent. There is a significant and growing operational impact to our school district during this intermediate period. This absence impedes our staff from exercising the fiscal authority needed to move critical work forward. As a few examples, this impact extends to our ability to execute purchase requisitions and contracts to support critically important capital improvement projects and transportation improvements that we just spoke of. This impact also extends to approvals needed for the school system budget and finances, just for a few examples.
Thank you so much, Dr. Coleman. Board members, do we have any questions? All righty. Dr. Moss?
Yeah, I do want to clarify for the public what we're voting on here, and you can correct me, Mr. Chair, but what we are voting on now is the contract. The board has already voted to appoint the superintendent as the interim superintendent in the 4-day phase between now and the 31st, and the board has already voted to appoint the superintendent for a year. This scope and this vote for the rest of tonight is relative to the interim superintendent's contract. Is that correct? I just want to make sure the public is clear about it.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay, can we stop there?
Number 10.
Okay, and I watched the board meeting. I may have missed it. Maybe it was part of the technical difficulties, whatever. But I don't remember seeing the board vote
Stop screen sharing.
Huh?
Are you still needing the screen share?
Oh yeah, because I need to show this.
Okay.
I don't remember, and Levon, let me know if you remember that. I don't remember seeing anything on the agenda about they were voting to appoint the interim superintendent, and I don't know when that was done. And if it didn't happen, this is important because this is what the law actually says. And when it talks about after the county executive, and you can see it says county executive, not county executive elect, selects the board member. And then it says that the board, then it says the individual is appointed by the county board after agreement on contract terms. So from what we saw, they were voting on contract terms first, and then he said he appointed. So it sounds like from what Dr. Moss said, they voted to appoint him first before they had the contract terms laid out. So that was something we wanted to question. How can that be? You're putting the cart before the horse because you're appointing him before you know the terms of his contract. So, and again, that could have been something that was missed with the technical difficulties, but we don't remember seeing that. Okay, Sherman, you can go ahead.
Board Member Boozer Struthers.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chair. I'm going to speak to why I'll be abstaining from this vote for the interim superintendent contract for the next year. My vote will not be a yes or no because this is not solely about the person named in the contract. The voters elected this board to make important policy and budget decisions for the school system and provide oversight of the superintendent. And in this moment, many stakeholders are now learning that the state lawmakers did not return this traditional role of the hiring of a superintendent or interim superintendent to the selected board when the appointed elected hybrid structure was ended on July 1st, 2024, essentially keeping the political power dysfunction intact. And many of our stakeholders are left worried that these politics will continue to impact their children in PGCPS. Once the board passes a motion for the hiring of an interim superintendent for a full year, only we, the board, are held accountable. There has not been an inclusive vetting process for this candidate since the county executive introduced him to the public. The board has not met officially to discuss important questions such as our philosophy of the role of an interim during this next school year. The board did not consider choices for the interim because this decision was made before we could even get started. And this decision was made for the students, staff, and parents who were denied input. And I wanted to say that the selected board had an opportunity to stand for good governance and not pass this motion tonight, but I would be asking my colleagues to also not look at the good governance decisions put upon us in the short timeline that Dr. Coleman has noted about operations and contracts. So the people of the county expect democratic practices from their elected school board members, and that is the vote. That is why I'm voting this way this evening, because this has not been democratic. So thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Boozer Struthers. I do want to make mention that we did do a background investigation and a financial analysis on Dr. Sean Joseph, which our legal team has a documentation, and everything came back clear. So we did do our due diligence as far as his integrity and standing.
Can you stop there? Okay, here's the law for the selection. Nowhere in here does it say that the board does a background check or financial analysis, which I don't know why you would do a financial analysis, maybe a credit check, but it still does not give the board, there's nothing in the law that gives the board that authority to perform those actions. And actually, if they had done a thorough check, they would have found out that his company, Joseph and Associates, which his contract says he can continue to do business for as the interim superintendent, is not in good standing with the state. So he didn't do a thorough check like they claim. Okay, you can go ahead.
And with financial and his background history. So next, I do want to recognize Board Member Brown.
Thank you so much, Chair Jackson. I too, along with my colleague, Board Member Pamela Boozer Struthers, will be abstaining from this vote. I do think that Dr. Sean Joseph is a wonderful candidate. I think he's actually a wonderful person. However, the decision was made when the county executive was in the elect position, and protocol was not followed. I am huge when it comes to protocol and policy, and so that was a concern for me. The other concern for me as well is that I just received his contract today, and so I have not been able to have a thorough reading of what exactly he is asking for, though it may be similar to the previous superintendent. Because I am a new person of the board, I need to be able to read and speak to my constituents on that. And so I am not confident to vote, and so I will be abstaining. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Sherman. You can turn that off. Now, one of the things that we want to get more clarification on from this board is the process that was followed. And as you can see, the process is pretty clear, like their attorney said. The county executive selects, so they're selected by the county executive in accordance with subsection C. That part he didn't mention. Subsection C says the county executive shall select a county superintendent from a list of 3 nominees recommended by a search committee. Now, here they're saying, well, it was the interim person. It wasn't a permanent superintendent. So we go down to F, where there's a vacancy actually filled. But even when we look at where it says how the vacancy is filled, it continues to say the county executive selects. The county board shall appoint. The same up here. They appoint by the board, and they are selected by the county executive. So remember, and I'm going to call her the state's attorney because that was her legal position at that time. It was state's attorney. It was not county executive. So the state's attorney said in that press conference, my team did a search. They didn't follow the law of where, and this takes out what Pamela Boozer Struthers said, which I thought was so important, that political dysfunction, this remedies that political dysfunction, because you have the state superintendent selecting somebody from the state board, and you have the governor selecting 2 residents. And it tries to mitigate, it tries to mitigate that. That was not done. It was somebody done from her team. She never disclosed who's your team that did it. So we don't know. Were there 3 people on that list? We don't know, because the state's attorney did not disclose that. Here's another critical thing that we need to understand about this process. So if the state's attorney is getting involved in the selection of the superintendent based on what she said, how everybody could see the tension. So I guess there were some personnel issues or whatever. Let's say that the board didn't follow the right process, or let's say somebody else, like the council chair, got involved in this process and it became a legal matter. Well, doing this in her position as state's attorney now compromises. It creates a conflict, because what if we find it was done illegal? Let's say the council chair was involved. Well, that creates a matter that she may have to, or that office may have to prosecute or investigate. How could she investigate? Because her team was already involved, because she was the state's attorney. She was not the county executive. So you see so much stuff, messiness that was done.
They just have to wait for the new state's attorney. That's all. Or Tara.
Let's see. But even more, this creates also, it opens us up to or possibly we're thinking that this is going to open us up to some liability. So let's say, for example, that the council chair and the state's attorney was involved in discussing replacement and the separation of Mr. House. Well, that means that they're going outside their authority. And if they're going outside their authority, usually the general rule is they are no longer immune from prosecution. So does that now open us up to different lawsuits because they did something outside of their authority? There's just a lot that needs to be considered, that this process was just done outside of the law, outside of our bylaws, and it's continuing, because the other thing is that this process is not final until the state superintendent does the approval. So it says the appointment of the county superintendent is not valid unless approved in writing by the state superintendent. In the past, we've seen the state superintendent put this information so it's available on MSDE page. We have not seen that yet. So he's making all these changes, and we don't even know if the state superintendent has approved this yet, because the county board has not said anything to the public about this. But yet and still they're making all these changes. So that's what the law actually says. The other thing that is very concerning about this is there are people who are losing jobs. There are people who are going into positions where, if things are reversed, they could end up losing positions. There's just so many moving parts. And to have Dr. Joseph moving, if this written approval from the state superintendent has not been received, I just think it's it shows a negligence on his part, because everything that you're doing could be reversed, and this is more money that is being wasted. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing right now.
It just never ceases to amaze me how
I'm gonna
our
pull something. Go ahead, Levon. I'm just gonna pull up the next part that I need to share. Go
how
ahead.
our school system will, just when you think things are running good. I mean, nobody thought that Mr. House was perfect. We had concerns at the start, but it's like the creativity of messiness. It's amazing. I mean, I graduated from high school in 1982. So this is 43 years that I have seen nonsense, just scandal after scandal, just lack of integrity. I mean, I tell people all the time, the best years as a parent I had was when we had that appointed school board, and I hate that they had a sunset on it. That should not have been allowed. It should have been a required evaluation on performance to determine if it should continue instead of trying to do something in 4 years. One term is not long enough to make cultural impact. And the culture of our school system is where we need improvement. We got to stop the shenanigans.
Yeah, Mr. House evaluation was due on June 30th. And so it would have been different to say, let's evaluate him, just like how the appointed board did when we did our vote of no confidence. They took what we said, but they looked at his performance and the metrics that they had set for Dr. Hornsby. And that's how he was measured. We may not have liked it as citizens, but we had to respect they were following the process.
Right.
This here to take Dr. Christie's word, which we have now found was misinterpreted, misconstrued, just basically lied. She lied. And yeah, I said you lied. You want to take me to court? Yeah, I'm saying you lied. And to use that as the basis to now put us in a position where we are paying all of this money for this contract of Dr. Joseph's, which brings us to our next thing that we want to look at. So we want to look at his 100-day plan. I tell you, that's the fastest 100-day plan that I have seen. You were not effectively on the job until yesterday. And you put out
work day. They had the PowerPoint in 24 hours, so
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
they use Chat GPT, Tanya,
they
or
they are going to
Copilot.
prove Derek wrong.
Mr. Ed has been preparing for this day. That's what I'm calling him now, Mr. Ed. He's been preparing for this day for a long time. So why wouldn't everything be in place?
I guess so, because
don't here's the insult. Don't be offended when we call you out on stuff, and don't dismiss things as it's politics and it's all politics. It's politics, right? It's politics because y'all want the jobs. We ain't got no jobs. It ain't political for us. It's about policy being followed. It's about integrity and being legal. So the politics, y'all are playing the politics against the people's interests. It ain't us. We trying to uplift and expose the politics.
Now, I want to share something. This was written by Dr. Alvin Thornton in 2021. And he said, since leaving the board chair position, I have observed the dysfunctional individual and group dynamics on the Board of Education, behavior that did not have to emerge. And he was correct.
Come on the show, Dr. Thornton. Come on, brother. Come on.
Speak your truth.
Yeah, come on. Give us an evaluation of the last 4 years and see if your prophetic word has manifested.
Dr. Thornton ain't worried about y'all. I almost said a bad word. He is focused on a lot of the national stuff that's going on.
Was that it? Okay.
Yes. You know, some people only do one or the other at times.
You got to take care of home first.
He already spoke the word, and it has come to pass. Now, I want to show something because we're going to look at Dr. Joseph's 100-day plan, which we have some questions about. Now, remember, we had a question about the fact that we had a stacking of the board that was done by Progressive Maryland. And remember, they said that they were very interested in project labor agreements, and they wanted to make sure that they had people that were labor friendly on the board. So let's look at Dr. Joseph's 100-day plan. So he gives some priority areas. So we're going to look first at priority area 1.
I don't see your screen.
You don't see it? Okay, let me stop and reshare.
Yeah, it's spinning.
Okay, do you see it now? Y'all see it now? Okay, so let's look at priority 1. So, a lot of this, when I'm looking at this, we're paying this man over almost $500,000 for on-the-job training, but you all can look at it for yourself. Okay, so one of the things that he said he's going to do is establish a shared governance calendar and regular communication cadence between the superintendent and the board. And, and I understand that sometimes you have to have communications outside of board meetings. You just got to make sure it doesn't violate the Opens Meeting Act. But when I look at this is called your board work sessions and your board meetings, because it is our business that you are actually handling, not the boards. So this should be around, that calendar should be around work sessions, which I believe the calendar has already been set, in your board meetings. Engage in team building with the board. So I'm not sure because they, I don't know. We just need more explanation on that. Establish criteria for superintendent's success within the first 100 days. So I would have thought that he would establish his goals, but the criteria really is on the board side. I don't know, Donna, what do you think?
Totally agree.
Because I'm not understanding from an organizational perspective, the criteria for your success should not be set by you.
Right.
It should be set by
it should be by the individuals utilizing or the product or the system or whatever. But it's you don't set it and deliver it. So
right. So I was a little confused about that. But we'll give him some time to explain that. Schedule times to present 100 days artifacts to the board based upon initial expectations that were set. This is called a work session. That's what this is called. Your presentation is done during a work session. So again, we just need more explanation on, you've been in the system before, you should know this. So that was a red flag for me. Another red flag for me was the talent priority. Because remember now, we haven't gotten to academics yet. We haven't gotten to academics. So, which are our children. That should matter first. So here we are focusing on all the grown people stuff that should already be in place. This should already be in place, the grown folk stuff. Then we get into talent, which is more grown folk stuff that should already pretty much be in place. So one of the things is investigate virtual teaching options and hard-filled vacancies and work with the unions. Okay, that's fine.
Hold up, Tanya. It says staffing and recruitment, finalize staffing and vacancy reviews by July 1.
I know. That's why I was kind of confused. That was the day you started.
Right. How based on what?
I don't know.
I think Sherman wanted you to make your window bigger.
It's okay. I did it on my end, but Y'all let them be great. July 1st was yesterday. They probably got everything all together. And, they just gonna rock and roll. It was done by close of business yesterday. Again, they did a PowerPoint in 24 hours. So what's wrong with staffing in 8?
Well, and this is another one. Meet with the state to understand all available options to recruit and secure highly qualified candidates for vacancies. You didn't do recruiting in Tennessee? I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, but how you gonna do that in 24 hours and get the vacancies filled if you don't know how to do it?
Well, I just want to say it looks great because they're saying that they're going to review special education staffing and prioritizing the plan to ensure special education students are prioritized because, for the longest we've been talking about that. So, and there are so many other community leaders who said we are going to hold the Dr. Joseph accountable and this and that. So,
how are you going to make the state the problems with special ed start really at the federal level? So, and I don't know how you're going to make the state because the state has been out of compliance for years. My last child graduated high school in 2008, and they were out of compliance then. So, I'm not saying that we continue to let it happen. I'm just saying this is not. This is like hearing the Ukrainian war will be done in one day. So that was a little, kind of startling for me.
I thought he was gonna say he's gonna walk on water.
Well, that's what this is almost saying that. Here's another very troubling one. Collaborate with the county executive's office and council to ensure labor contracts. Now, remember that packing of our board by the progressives said we wanted labor-friendly candidates. Now, we do know that the county executive during her campaign was constantly saying, I have a lot of contacts with labor unions. We know the county council chair. You can go look at his contributions for his campaign. A lot of money coming from labor unions. And let's not forget Liuna, who the former District 8 board member, now council chair, Edward Burrows, was investigated about, and I know they want to try to say that, oh, well, the ethic panel, they all resigned. They only resigned because they were being harassed by the progressives. But Judge O'Connor made it clear. He made it clear when Dr. Miller was exonerated that OIG report that they love to toss around and say was done back in August of 2020, I think it was 2022, Judge O'Connor said it wasn't competent evidence. So let's just put
maybe it's a judge just not competent.
Well, that's isn't that what their attorney tried to say when he lost his appeal? But yeah, but this is important because nothing in the law, nothing in state law gives the county executive or the county council any authority to be involved in the day-to-day operations of the board.
That's right.
Or either to interfere with the superintendent day-to-day operations.
Well, what they got the education committee for if they can't interfere with the with another governing body?
Look, we know what that's all about. That's Ed Burrows' little game to try to keep into to intimidate this.
That's supposed to be for fiduciary oversight, not for day-to-day questions about operations, or if there is a crisis that the government has to assist.
Is that what that mission for that committee says?
Because that's what it's supposed to be. Let me look it up.
Because they call themselves the Education Workforce Development Committee. But
that committee, not that one. Forget about that newly titled one. Let me see what it says.
So the important, but
Oh,
the
great! They're
important,
bringing jobs. I like that.
but the important thing here is this is a violation of COMAR because the county executive and the county council should not be involved and with any type of contracts with the school system, they or any of our day-to-day operations. And for the interim for the interim superintendent to even interject this in his 100-day plan shows a lack of understanding of the laws that he is supposed to enforce as the superintendent. Um, and this is address local and state mandates. What mandates? But anyway, that's what our board is supposed to do. That's what the board is supposed to do, not the county executive. So this needs to be questioned. This only politicizes our school system more. And again, I don't think anyone will deny when you look at the achievements that Dr. Joseph had when he was in Tennessee were not impressive, but it could not be overlooked because of his scandals around contracts. And here we go again, contracts, controversies.
I don't know. They said they was lying on the black man trying to take him out. They said, because he
Well,
was in,
a
but it was
judge,
Tennessee, right?
it was in Tennessee, yeah, but
Right.
yeah,
Is that Trump country? I don't know, but they said he was. It was a setup. It was a setup.
then, well, you know what? He tried to fight, if I remember, I've got to remember it correctly. I know he tried to fight so that they could not disclose any of things about their discussions, and he lost with that. So, I don't even want to hear that.
They don't even
No.
have a description on the website for this committee.
For that committee? Yeah.
Yeah, it just says agency issues review responsibility, Board of Ed, Prince George's Community College, the library, and employ Prince George's. It doesn't even have a mission statement.
Yeah, it's called Ed being able to meddle. That's what it's called. That's the mission. Edward Burroughs being able to meddle in school business. But here's the thing that
Ed.
here's the thing that really, to me, is kind of disturbing. Priority 3 is academics. So all of the grown people minutia is coming first and second. And then priority 3 is academics.
That should be priority 1.
Kids are always last. Kids and teachers. Now, remember your president said that she made sure that Mr. House was ousted for you. But his third priority is academics. That's what's important to kids and teachers. So last thing I want to pull up is his contract, y'all. So that you all understand why there was a vote against it. Because that contract, hold on, let me pull this document. LaVon, go ahead and give some y'all go ahead and get some comments while I pull that up. This contract is just.
Donna, Derek, y'all got anything to say?
What his contract ensued on July 1?
Mm-hmm. July 1.
July 1. I want y'all to think about something. His contract ensued on July 1, and in his 100-day description of what he's going to do in 100 days, he said he was going to achieve. What was that he said he was going to achieve on July 1?
Staff. He was going to get the faculty and staff in line by July 1.
So I don't know.
How was he doing that? Is that through the termination of everybody House board?
I don't know what light bulb comes on in anybody else's mind, but for me, looking at that 100-day plan, I don't know this guy, but there was some stuff going on behind the scenes a long time ago. For you to even put that date there for you to even know that that's what I'm gonna do on that date, and that's technically your first day on the job. How do you put that in your 100-day plan like that? So we got to look deeper at how this whole thing is unfolded. Again, I don't know Dr. Joseph. I don't have anything personally against him. I have a problem with the process and how it was rolled out to the public and the community and the students. Something, right. I mean, they're telling you what they did right in your face. The more and more you read their ways and what they're going to do and how they're going to implement this thing, they're telling you right there it was some collusion behind the scenes on how this thing was done. And then the Superintendent Miller House had an evaluation on June 30th. I don't know. In a position like that, I just don't know too many positions like that where you don't even get to go through your evaluation. Something stinks.
PU. And that's not a fraternity or sorority shout out. That's a PU. You stink.
The community has to start seeing that, speaking out on it, and to not allow people to speak at the board meeting is absolutely wrong. And
dictatorship.
If you're doing everything above board and you're doing it the right way, why are you afraid of people coming to the mic speaking? Because if they speak outside of the law and you're following the law and you don't want to hear what they got to say, all you got to do is show that we're following the procedure and the law. And nobody can, I guess, buck that. But you're not doing that, and then you don't want to hear from the public.
Right. Because they want to make it about you're objecting to the person, and it's not the case. So if we get to right, so if we say no, we're objecting to you and your procedures, then it becomes we're being attacked, and then they might have to be accountable for that, and they don't want to be accountable. I mean, it's bad enough you go to the meetings and they say stuff that you can't challenge, you can't question, you can't get a response to, but then to not be able to have your say. Remember, Tanya, we got up, he said, oh, I thought she was coming up here.
Right, he did. Well, and that's because I said you better have me ready to speak.
We got up to go to talk to the press. I should have went
down that direction. I should have went down there to see what he was going to do, call security after they got their award.
Oh yeah, they gave security an award. They had every security officer present. I was like, why we got so much security all for the Sasser building? It was like 12 people.
Oh no, that was a warning. That was a warning.
Yeah, they thought we was gonna come in there and and act ugly. No, like we don't
like we were gonna recreate January 6th or something.
Right. No, y'all ain't worth that. No.
Okay, y'all. Let's go over this contract really quick. And this is, we didn't have this on our page. But we did a comparison of Dr. Joseph's contract and Mr. House. And here are some of the red flags that we saw. Now, remember, again, this has nothing to do with the fact that he did, it appears he did an exceptional job in Tennessee, but he has not been in a superintendent position since his contract was terminated in Tennessee as the superintendent for that school, that district. But yet and still, we're paying him $20,000 more than what we were paying for the permanent superintendent. He gets $36,000.
Got to pay premium prices for last minute. Like when you have electrical problems or plumbing and it's emergency call, you have to pay the fee that you got to pay.
What about the assistant vice assistant CEO or superintendent. They don't get to step in, or they go to.
Well, you know what? That's what we've done in the past. Remember
That's what I thought.
Howard Burnett did it twice, and we had no problems, and gave them time to select and go through the right process to select a permanent superintendent. It would have made sense because they're already being paid.
That's right.
Y'all are talking about pre-COVID era. None of those things apply anymore.
No, we're
We
talking.
are living in a new era.
What
No, and nothing to do with no COVID.
We're talking good management. Right now, what we're talking, honestly, I'm sorry, is incompetence.
Poor management.
Incompetence.
Yeah, incompetence is a better word.
So here's another thing that's really $36,000 annual expense allowance with no receipts required. He gets a slush fund of $3,000 a month. He can spend it any way he wants, rent late, light bill late, whatever. He can spend it and never have to give a receipt.
So is this petty cash fund typical?
I don't think so, Sharon.
I was just curious because I'm about to apply next.
Yeah, me too. We all
didn't I tell y'all that this is the new superintendent retirement fund? Come to Prince George's County. They will make sure you have a good retirement fund. So, okay, he gets 20% contribution for retirement, towards his retirement, where Mr. House was only getting 16%. Potential
retirement
conflict
for what? This is temporary.
He playing catch
Baby,
up.
This is a contract.
I know.
This is a contract position.
Yeah, why is he getting retirement period?
You know what? It sounds like not being in a position since 2019, like LaVon said, you need to do some catch up. So you try to
and some of that is probably, you have to grease some palms for some of this too, probably. I'm just saying, that's what I think.
I wish I could make up for 5 years of being blackballed.
Me too.
20% of your salary is going in here, and our permanent one got 16%. Now, not only that, he gets to continue to have interest in doing his consulting business, the one that's not legally registered with Maryland. Now, he may have done it by now since we brought that out, but no, it was not in good standing.
And which hours of the day is he going to do that?
Yes.
Hours, I don't know.
There are 24 hours in a day, so I'm pretty sure, he has time. You 8 to 10 hours at the school, do 4 or 5.
Shoot, as a senior buyer, I didn't have any time to do anything else. Because guess what? Sometimes I left that place at 11 o'clock trying to get these kids.
See, that's because you are a senior buyer. You're not the interim superintendent. There's a difference. And then, so he still gets to do his consulting job, which I don't understand, because what if contracts come before the school system that could create a conflict? So
absolutely.
But what if he put a contract before the school system?
When has that ever stopped anybody?
Right.
As I've reported on several occasions, you had the director at OIT out there giving her boyfriend a little slide of contract offices and all type of stuff, and you got council members giving to their friends and family and lovers. So this is commonplace.
Now look at this, y'all. Base salary. Okay, we were paying House $345, and I thought it was $325. But anyway, he gets $365 for 1 year.
365 days in a year, baby.
$1,000 a day.
Dang.
Yes, that's what he
like his job.
Annual increase, of course, there's none specified because it's only supposed to be for a year. So here are, some of the disparities that we see in here. The $20,000 annually, the additional, the 2.5 increase that House has, where his is a temporary position. It doesn't really say, so they could just slap anything in there. 16% contribution was what House got versus Joseph getting 20%. And get this didn't happen for House. The board pays both the employee and the employer portion of his retirement.
Yeah,
So that's
the
on
front door.
top of the 20%. You get the whatever the matching is. So you're doing the employee and the employer.
Yeah, this is crazy. This is
And who wrote this
absolutely
contract?
insane.
It sounds like
The
Edward
We as the
Burrows.
state. We as the state.
Look, I'm gonna tell you, this sounds like Edward Burrows because and it's
not
common.
speculating.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna say it. Yes, I'm gonna say it because it sounds like there is no fiscal note, just like the bills he puts out there in the council. This sounds just like this.
Mr. Ed.
Um,
Can we find that?
Well, you probably getting a little something on the side.
And they all signed this. Like
they voted on this that night. And now, to credit to the board attorney, Lolita Walker did say that he said that there were some red flags that they should
she
consider.
still voted for
but
it.
she voted for it anyway. Yes.
But she still voted for it, and she tried to give some kind of
you put politics. We'll deal with the politics on the back end. This is a contract. This is a contract, sweetheart. Once you sign it, it's binding.
Period.
So again, let's move on. He gets a vehicle. He gets $1,000 a month vehicle allowance. Yes, this is what House got. This is all House got. He got $15,000 annually. Joseph gets $3,000. Now House had to turn in those receipts. Now, where did you go? How many miles did you go? Joseph, $3,000 a month and no receipts required. No receipts, no oversight at all. At all. Okay, teachers, here are your bonuses right here.
That's right.
Here's your bonuses
he had
right
vehicle
here.
Or 1,000 months vehicle allowance. He didn't have both.
Right. Oh, that's right. Vehicle or 1,000. This joker gets $3,000 a month and
security.
I'm sorry, y'all. This sounds
driver and security.
What now? Remember, he lives in Gaithersburg.
Woo!
So that's a lot of mileage.
dangerous.
No, seriously. Because do I need protection?
But I think this is not this is an error somewhere because House had a driver too, and his doesn't say that he has a driver.
Interesting.
So does vehicle mean
the driver?
Personal?
Yes. No, that means the driver. That's the driver.
So it should say vehicle and driver.
Vehicle and driver security provided because you have security. That's the
now why you need security? Because you stealing our money?
No. Why would he need security for stealing money? Again, Prince George's County must have become so unsafe.
Well,
and the school system, I mean, the children are beating the teachers behind, as you can see. That's why they got rid of House. So he said, if y'all gonna bring me here, you better make sure that you cover me, protect me,
control your wildly children.
Yeah, because he don't want to live in Prince George's County, obviously.
Plus, he gets $15,000 professional development for 1 year.
Wow. What are they developing?
They ought to be ashamed of themselves.
Again,
he don't have time to go to a conference.
This sounds like a bill written with no fiscal note. That's what it sounds like. Okay, let's go on down to the next thing. Okay, so
House. Got 6 minutes, Tanya.
We do? Okay.
Yes.
So $750 supplemental life insurance. He gets $14,000 annually. So they both had that. Technical support. So House got the standard technology package. He gets the enhanced.
Yes, come on, Fios.
Which includes his home internet. What? He don't have internet now? He don't have internet now?
I ain't using my internet for y'all.
You're making $365,000 and you can't maintain your own internet?
Yeah. So can't. Not as long as you're gonna pay for it.
Yes. Long as y'all gonna give it to me, I'm asking.
So who negotiated that?
No fiscal note, folks. That's what it sounds like. Plus driver and security service. So I guess he's getting that Norton LifeLock and all that other good stuff with his enhanced package. But now there's no cost. We don't know what this cost us. So we don't know, y'all. So here are some serious conflicts. That he may continue his consulting company.
That is a serious issue.
Why even create? I mean, you came under a cloud because of contracts, and yet
because it's
doing it
only a
again.
year. Like, why would he stop his business in order to help y'all? Have, he don't know what's gonna happen.
Oh, yeah, this is the other thing. Now, say that they terminate his contract. Regardless, he gets 3 months severance, or the remaining of his contract if the board breaches. Another thing, no performance-based salary structure. But then again, we already read that he's gonna set up his success criteria anyway. So why tie it to his contract? Because he's gonna set it up anyway. So these are, and we have this on our page, but especially teachers, you all.
Yeah,
I think
one teacher be jumping up and down.
Well, I think one teacher said that they get only $100 for beautifying their classrooms. He's getting a $36,000 annual slush fund.
And the teachers also still have problems with getting their supplies, the things that they need for the kids. They still sending home notes about bringing in some daggone sanitizer.
They need an enhanced package.
Yeah. Do you know how much a teacher could do with a portion of $36,000 in their classroom? I think all the parents should protest and not bring any supplies to school and tell him to write a non-receipted invoice and have supplies ordered to all the. We want toilet paper, we want hand sanitizer, we want Kleenex, we want pencils, paper, crayons, all that. $36,000 to do what?
It's a slush fund. This is a slush fund.
So he can make campaign
donations. $3,000 a month, they say.
$3,000 a month.
Yeah, I mean,
no receipts.
That's enough pizza parties and
how much do teachers? How much does an average teacher make?
About a decent bread for the kids to sit in.
When we looked at this contract, it comes out to about $511,000, but that does not include this internet package because we don't know how much that's going to cost. We don't know how much the driver is going to cost. So there's so many things that we don't know that are unknown.
Oh, that's right. He just said he gets a driver, but maybe they'll get a like he did in Tennessee, have one of the bus drivers become his personal driver. Why y'all laughing?
But this is the thing. This contract, our board members who said that it is their fiduciary responsibility so we can sign contracts. They could have gotten an interim from internal until a properly vetted.
Absolutely.
I'm not going to say he's not qualified. He could have come out in the proper vetting. But you could have properly vetted somebody.
Did we watch the same video or listen to? Because they said they vetted, they ran a credit check and a criminal history.
And a financial analysis.
They did a financial analysis. Basically, how much
this is not a project. This is not a project. This is a job.
If that's how we do background checks, that's how we do them until we change them and actually do investigatory work. This is what we have in place.
But when we look at this could have put 3 teachers in the classroom. That is the type of waste, Frank Turner, that was done.
Roll up. He said he's gonna fill vacancies.
Yeah, okay.
No, he's got to go to the state. He's got to go to the state and ask for the best practices of how to do it. I told you, we're paying all this on-the-job training here.
School year will be over by the time he figure out
what he's supposed to do.
Exactly.
Okay.
But But we the problem. We the problem.
A lot of bullet lists of what could be, or what I'm going to find out could be, or I'll see what could be. And of course, coming off the backs of Mr. House with these negotiations, which we still don't really know.
Oh, okay. Honestly, okay, seriously, before we close out, I just do have a serious question though. Inside of whatever documents in the 100-day plan, was there any concrete positions or something that would rectify why they fired House, if that makes sense, or pushed him out? Did he address any of those issues
in his 100-day plan?
To correct whatever House didn't
hold on. Let's see if that's in there. Let's pull that
just really quick.
So that, I guess that's with the adult minutia, right? Okay, let's go look at I'm sorry, the adult priorities. I don't remember finalized staffing. It just says finalized staffing and vacancy reviews.
Safety. Is there anything about safety in here? Press Control F and do safety and see if something pop up.
Oh yeah, let's do safety. So let's see, what does safety say? Assign facilities team to verify HVAC, plumbing, and safety compliance.
Well, there's another safety. Let's see what that one says.
Let's see what the other one says. Support wellness and safety, ensuring operational excellence.
Doing what? See, that's just a bunch of mumbo jumbo words.
That's called.
Well, there you go.
That's called fluff. That's
exactly.
What it's called fluff.
But that's in the letter. That's not even as a goal. That's not even one of the priorities.
Yeah. That's not one of the priorities. No, it sure isn't. Oh, did y'all know did y'all know Brandon was president? Did y'all know he was president now?
President of what?
Gosh.
I don't
president of what?
I don't know. I know we're spending
Georges County Board of Education.
And we're spending all this money with these color copies. And let's be clear, the county executive has nothing to do with the day-to-day operations of the school system. You can check out the charter and you will see there is nothing in our charter.
Tanya, did you save this document?
Yes.
Okay, because we want to make sure when they make that editorial correction that we got a permanent copy of it.
Yes. So, the sad thing is, again, academics is the third priority before all of the adult malarkey. That's what he's taking care of first. Those are the first two priorities. And you can even see community engagement. So you see how far we're down. Operations. Wouldn't operations be important before we get to all of this other stuff? But anyway. But that was it was only done in one day now, y'all. I got to remember.
Wow, they did a lot of work.
Well, that's
how much
why
overtime
there were
went into this?
Things that needed to be edited because it was one day they had to hurry to get it out by July 1st. So, just like how some of the things the council puts out that has grammatical errors. I mean, it just happens sometimes.
I know.
Hey, Sherman, can you play that I sent you?
Wow. What? Where's our ball of confusion? Come on, we can at least hear that.
Man, I had the
Yes.
I had the theme song to Mr. Ed. A horse is
all
a
right,
horse,
guys.
a horse.
Thank you all so much for tuning in with us. If you are here right now, we truly appreciate you for hanging in this entire time. Those of you on YouTube, thank you so much for watching. Those of you on Facebook watching, and soon we'll be on Instagram. I guess we got to post some stuff first in order to, have the ability to go live. But we're going to be on Instagram too. And Tanya, don't ask me about TikTok. Maybe not.
TikTok.
30 seconds to a word before we close out. You can have it. Here we go.
Okay, people, I'm just saying, y'all, we ask you all every other week for a call to action. We cannot continue down this path. And I'm not saying that what we're seeing now is new. It has been happening for decades, but there comes a time when we say enough is enough. This is enough. I mean, this has just been done so sloppy, and there's more information that we will be sharing with you at the next
I'm
show.
protesting if David Murray get hired.
Oh.
Derek, you have anything you want to say
I
before we close out?
Hold on, wait.
Oh, LaVon, go ahead.
I want to say that as we were talking about Chief Mimi's health incident today, the fire department did put out a statement saying that she had been treated and she was doing well. And so we are glad for that report.
Very good.
And we can talk more about other appointments at the next CAG chat, because we seeing some interesting things going on.
Yeah. Oh, we have a conversation with the developers on the next chat as well. So that's going to be interesting. I hope you all are tuned in for that. Derek, do you have anything? Mm-hmm.
I just want to bring back to the attention of the community that the school system serves. Look at the amount of money that is being spent. You have a superintendent that has just been ousted who's still getting paid. You have an interim superintendent that's getting paid more than the superintendent that was ousted for just 1 year of service. You have a transportation system who will be paying TransFinder while they go and try to implement Bus Planner. And all of these people are getting paid in a fiscal downtrodden of the whole county. I just don't understand why more people are not joining us to speak out and to fight for what we obviously are seeing. And I'm telling you, it is going to get worse. The veil is going to come off. If we stand back and don't say anything about this, then they're going to push even harder in our face to do things that are unlawful and are not under COMAR standards. So I'm just frustrated. I don't have a lot to say right now, so I don't go off, but I'm sick and tired of sitting on the podcast doing the work that we do. And I'm sick and tired of people in the community amening what we do in this podcast. And I'm sick and tired of nobody really stepping to the front to put a stop to the people that we elect in positions that are supposed to have integrity, and they're supposed to have fiscal fiduciary responsibilities, and the main important thing that they're supposed to love the children of this county. And we're teaching the children of this county all the wrong things while we're not properly educating them off of a pandemic where they didn't learn worth of that gum and lost a lot of hours in the classroom time. And y'all keep playing. I ain't happy. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Donna, you have anything?
No, not really. I'm just as frustrated as all outdoors, but no.
Heard, I understand. Well,
Sherman froze. We get to talk for another 20 minutes.
No,
we don't.
I do want to make one. I just want to make one last. Y'all, we really got to do something, because come on, and I'm just serious, y'all. We're not getting up. We're not getting paid for this. We don't get paid. We go into our own pockets to try to get this information to you. We go into our own pockets to file things at the courts. We go into our own pockets to Xerox things and send appeals up to the state. You know, we all have to understand we're all in this together. Your taxes, I don't know where our taxes are going, but we are not in a good position financially wise in the school system, in this county. And now the mismanagement on the county is pouring even more heavily into our school system. And we have no one in leadership willing to stand up. They want to sit up and just mumble words that mean nothing. We got to get
along to get along.
Would you say virtue signaling?
Did I hear also that the FBI building is not coming to Prince George's County?
No.
Yeah, they're going to the Reagan building.
I wonder why.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you all so much for tuning in, and we will be back next week and having a robust conversation.
2 weeks.
I'm sure we're probably 2 weeks and 2 weeks, and I'm pretty sure that we'll have an additional update with regards to this because things move so fast and furious, and we also have the conversation with the developers. So we hope you tune in. Leave us some feedback as well.